The night sky over Earth looked calm, full of stars that had shined for millions of years. But far above that quiet beauty, something else watched. A small alien scout ship drifted in orbit, its hull dark and hidden from human satellites. The ship, the crew, spoke in sharp, quick words in their own tongue. To them, Earth was a weak planet, soft and fragile, a world where life was simple and unguarded. Their commanders had told them that humans were loud but powerless, brave in stories but helpless in truth. They expected nothing but an easy report. But the readings on their scanners did not fit the description. Strange energy spikes moved across the planet's surface, disappearing when the instruments tried to focus on them. The alien captain frowned. He had scouted many primitive worlds before, and nothing like this had ever happened. It was as if Earth was aware of being watched. The scout ship slid lower through the upper atmosphere, careful to avoid human detection. The crew laughed quietly, speaking about how this mission was a waste of time. Their people wanted proof before the invasion began. But what proof was needed against a species that could not even leave its own planet freely? One of the younger officers stared out of the view screen and pointed. For a second, something flashed. On the horizon, a faint silver line moving faster than their eyes could follow. The captain dismissed it as a reflection, but the officer's hands shook. He had seen cloaked ships before, but never on a so-called primitive world. Thought about speaking again, but fear of the captain's anger kept him silent. Below them, Earth continued its rhythm. Cities glowed with electric light. Cars moved like veins of fire through the darkness, and humans walked unaware of what hovered above them. Yet the sensors on the alien ship picked up signals that did not match human technology. Short bursts of coded frequencies spread across the oceans and into space itself, bouncing off satellites in a way that made no sense. The scout engineer leaned over his console and whispered that these were not normal transmissions. They were traps, but the captain snapped at him to continue scanning. They had orders to bring back clear evidence, and fear of their own leaders was greater than the unease that filled the ship. As the scout descended further, a chill filled the crew chamber. Instruments began to flicker, showing ghostly readings. Empty signals, and then sudden spikes of energy like thunder that left no source. One of the crew cursed loudly. Their navigation systems had briefly shut down, as though something had touched their ship without moving. The captain ordered the engines to full power, but the ship did not respond immediately. For a moment, the alien crew felt something watching them. Not from space, but from Earth itself. The young officer finally spoke, warning that they had gone too far. The captain sneered and ordered him to silence, but the fear in the officer's eyes spread too. The others, suddenly, alarms screamed through the ship. Their hull sensors detected an object right in front of them, but the view screen showed only empty air. Then, without warning, a shadow appeared, sharp and fast, cutting across their vision like a blade of light. Before they could react, the ship spun violently. Controls froze, engines shut down, and the screens filled with static. The crew shouted, trying to regain control, but the systems refused to respond. They felt as if the ship itself had been seized by invisible hands. Engineer cried out that the power was being drained, but not by any weapon they understood. It was like their own energy was being turned against them. The captain tried to send a distress call, but the communication array was already gone. The officer who had first seen the silver flash screamed that something was inside the ship. Lights dimmed, and for one long breath, silence filled every corner. Then, just as quickly as it had begun, everything went dark. The alien scout vanished without a trace, leaving only a ripple in the upper atmosphere that faded within seconds. Down below, the quiet streets of Earth, no one knew what had happened. Humans went about their lives, unaware that their planet had just consumed an intruder, but high above, in the void where the scout had disappeared, something else moved, something that had no name in the alien language. For the first time, aliens realized that perhaps Earth was not what it seemed. On the alien mothership far from Earth, the loss of the scout caused confusion. Reports came in incomplete, cut off mid-sentence. Commanders demanded answers. Could a weak planet cause a ship to vanish? Officers argued, some blaming mechanical failure, others whispering that humans had been hiding something. The whispers grew louder as technicians replayed the final moments of the ship's black box. Recording. There was a single sound captured in the last second before the ship went silent. It was not alien technology. It was not static. It was a human voice, calm and cold, saying only one word: "Welcome." The commanders dismissed it as interference, but in their hearts, none of them believed that. A decision had to be made quickly. They would send another scout, stronger and better. Armed, if Earth thought it could hide its secrets, they would drag them into the light. But deep inside the minds of the younger officers, fear had already taken root. Weak planets did not swallow ships whole. Weak planets did not whisper into, "Alien comes." Weak planets did not watch the sky back. Far below, on Earth's surface, the silver shadow that had erased the alien ship returned to its hidden place beneath the ocean. Silent, waiting, patient. Humanity had seen the stars watching, and now, for the first time, the stars had something to fear. The alien commanders did not sleep after the loss of the first scout. A single missing ship could be explained as failure, but the recording of that human word, "welcome," cut into their pride like a blade. They called emergency councils across. Their fleets, generals argued. Scientists calculated, and politicians demanded proof. Some claimed Earth was still weak, and the disappearance was just chance. Others whispered that humans had been preparing for centuries, hiding their strength under masks of fragility. In the end, the decision was made. If machines could not uncover the truth, living spies would. Within weeks, new orders spread across the alien empire. Small infiltration teams disguised themselves and landed quietly on Earth. They arrived not as soldiers, but as shadows. Wrapped in human faces, hiding in plain sight. One of them, named Kareth in his own tongue, walked the crowded streets of New York City, his form perfectly mimicking a human man. To him, Earth looked chaotic and loud, humans running with no discipline, their technology cluttered and inefficient. He laughed at their weakness, but as he moved deeper, he began to notice details that did not fit. Everywhere he looked, hidden cameras scanned not just humans, but the air itself. Satellites tracked things not visible to normal eyes. At night, frequencies pulsed through the ground like veins, linking cities, mountains, and oceans. Kareth tapped his hidden scanner to record them, but the device failed, showing only white static. He tried again, hiding in an alleyway, but his equipment simply shut down. It was as if something inside the planet had noticed his attempt and blocked it. His disguise still held, but he felt watched in ways he could not explain. Another agent, disguised as a scientist in Tokyo, tried to access human data systems. She expected primitive codes and soft firewalls. Instead, the moment she touched the network, the system locked her out with terrifying precision. The screen turned black, and letters appeared one by one. They spelled her alien name, a name she had never spoken on Earth. She froze in horror, tore the device apart, and fled, but deep inside she knew she had been seen. Her report to the fleet was short. Humans are not blind. Across the planet more, agents tried their luck. Some sneaked into underground bases, only to find doors that refused to open for them. Others placed scanners on power grids, but the grids reacted by sending feedback that fried their instruments. One agent disappeared completely near the coast of Chile. His last transmission was a scream followed by silence. The fleet above logged, "Him is missing," but whispers spread. Something on Earth was hunting them, not with weapons, but with patience. Kareth began to feel pressure. His orders demanded proof of human weakness, yet everywhere he turned, he found walls he could not break. He followed groups of human soldiers during a training exercise, hoping to record their limits. What he saw made his skin tighten with unease. The humans trained not like prey, but like predators. Moving through forests in silence, striking targets with sudden violence, then vanishing again. They looked careless in daily life, but here, under the trees, their discipline was sharper than blades. For the first time, Kareth wondered if his people had judged too quickly. One night, while resting in his safe house, Kareth received a coded transmission from the fleet. A new plan had been approved. If spies could not expose the truth, then the fleet would trigger it. They ordered him to prepare for contact points, places where they could test Earth's defenses with small strikes. Kareth's hand shook as he read the orders. His instincts screamed against it. Earth was not weak. Something vast and unseen coiled beneath its surface. But he was a soldier, bound to obey. He closed the device and whispered to himself that maybe humans were only pretending. Maybe his fear was just in his head. But at that exact moment, his room went dark. The lights flickered, his device shut off, and the window shattered inward, though no hand touched it. A cold wind filled the room, though outside the city was warm. In the broken glass he saw a reflection that was not his human disguise, but his true alien form, staring back at him with hollow eyes. Ash! A voice filled the room, the same calm tone that had ended the first scout's mission. Welcome back, Kareth's scream was swallowed by silence. The next morning his safe house stood empty, the window fixed, no trace of his presence left. Neighbors swore the apartment had never been occupied. Records of his false identity vanished from human systems as if they had never existed. The fleet above waited for his report, but nothing came. Another shadow erased. On Earth, hidden deep within the oceans, the invisible web pulsed again. It was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It was older, colder, and far more patient. Humans had learned long ago that showing power drew predators. So they built their defense in silence, letting the universe think they were weak. But when the predators came close, the web closed around them. In the alien council chambers, the whispers of fear grew louder. 2 scouts gone, agents missing, reports that made no sense. The commanders raised their voices to drown the fear. Insisting humans could not truly resist. They demanded proof. They ordered the next phase. The first strike was to begin. Above Earth, the sky was calm again, filled with stars. But hidden in that silence, the web stretched wider, waiting. The alien high command no longer had patience. 2 scouts gone, agents vanished without leaving a trace, and whispers that Earth was more than it appeared. Their pride could not accept fear. They believed fear was weakness, and weakness was not for them. So they decided the time had come to make the first move. It would strike not a full invasion, but a sharp blow to test the truth. A squadron of warships was dispatched, each one strong enough to erase a continent. They entered orbit with cold confidence, convinced that even if Earth had tricks, nothing could stop their firepower. The squadron commander, Admiral Velos, stared at the blue and green world below. It looked so harmless, so unworthy of respect. Clouds drifted, oceans shimmered, cities sparkled faintly at night. He felt disgust that such a soft planet had dared to resist his scouts. His orders were simple: destroy a target and watch the reaction. He chose a coastal power station near the Atlantic, not a city, but a place that would wound Earth without ending it. He gave the order, and his ship prepared to fire. But then something strange happened. Before the weapons could charge, his screens flickered. The targeting system shifted without command. His gunners cursed, hitting panels, but nothing obeyed. Instead of the human station, the weapons locked onto empty ocean. Alarms blared as the ship's computers reported interference. The admiral shouted to cut the systems, but his officers looked pale. The interference was not coming from outside. It was inside their own systems, as if Earth had reached across space and taken hold of their controls. Another ship fired first. Breaking through the interference, a streak of plasma fell from the sky, bright as a sunbeam, and struck the ocean. For a heartbeat, silence followed. Then the sea opened. A column of water rose higher than mountains, and from its heart a silver shape emerged. The alien crews froze. Rising from the ocean was not a building, not a natural defense, but a ship. A human ship. Its hull gleamed like liquid metal. No weapons visible, no engines exposed, just a smooth shape that looked more alive than built. It hovered silently, the wave collapsing beneath it, and turned its gaze upward. On the alien flagship, Admiral Velos felt his mouth go dry. He had seen hundreds of ships in his life, fought in wars across galaxies, but he had never seen something that radiated such quiet power. His officers scrambled to scan it, but their instruments failed. Every frequency bounced back empty. To their technology, the human ship was not even there. Yet it moved, hovering calmly as if daring them to act. The squadron opened fire. Plasma bolts, energy beams, and missile storms filled the sky. The ocean below boiled. Thunder cracked across the planet. But when the light cleared, the human ship was untouched. Not a scratch marked its hull. Instead, one by one, the alien ships began to fail. Their engines coughed, their weapons shut down, their lights dimmed. Crew shouted that their reactors were losing power. Systems bled energy into nothing. It was like a hand reached inside their ships and turned off their hearts. The admiral roared for control, but his flagship shuddered. A mirror-like surface appeared around the ship, glowing faintly, reflecting every system they had. His engineers screamed. The ship was feeding on its own power. Every weapon they tried to fire was returned, every shield turned inward. In the viewing window, the human ship hovered still, saying nothing, yet commanding everything. On Earth below, humans watched the night sky. Citizens pointed at strange lights above the ocean, flashes of battle hidden behind clouds. Most of them thought it was a storm or some trick of the atmosphere. The governments remained silent. They knew the truth. They had always known this. Day would come. In underground bunkers, men and women watched the human ship rise from the waves. They called it by the name no alien would ever hear Project Mirror. It was the heart of their hidden defense, the weapon built not to conquer, but to punish those who came hunting. Above, the alien squadron fell into chaos. Ships turned against themselves, drifting powerless. One vessel exploded when its reactor collapsed inward, the wreckage scattering like dust. Others shut down completely, floating dead in orbit. Admiral Velos stared at his doom. His pride refused to break, yet his heart trembled. He had thought Earth would be easy prey. Now he realized they had walked into a trap so deep that even retreat was impossible. His last sight before his ship went dark was the human vessel. Its smooth surface shifting slightly, like it was watching him personally. Only one alien ship escaped, fleeing with broken engines and panicked crew. They carried no victory, only a warning. When they returned to the fleet, they could not even explain what they had seen. Their recordings were blank, their systems erased. The only memory left was in their minds, the silver ship rising from the sea, the invisible web closing around them, and the silence that followed. On Earth, Project Mirror sank back beneath the ocean waves, leaving no trace. The humans returned to their lives as if nothing had happened, but in their deepest halls, leaders spoke in whispers. The first move had been made. The aliens would not stop here. They would come back greater in number, hungrier for revenge. And when they did, Earth would be ready. In the Alien Council, rage burned hotter than fear. Admirals swore vengeance. Politicians demanded blood. They told themselves humans had only one such ship, only one weapon, and that numbers would crush. Patience. They planned the next strike, not knowing that every move they made was already being watched. The sky was no longer theirs. The sky belonged to Earth. The escape of a single broken alien ship should have been a small matter, but in the Empire's war councils, it echoed like thunder. Officers shouted at one another, each desperate to prove that Earth's defense was nothing but luck. They refused to believe in hidden strength. They said humans had stumbled upon one strange weapon, a relic, perhaps, and that was all. Pride blinded them, yet fear gnawed quietly beneath their words. To kill that fear, they decided to capture proof with their own hands, not from Earth itself, but from the edges of human expansion in the asteroid belt.
Humans had small research outposts, quiet stations mining rock, and studying space dust.
The aliens saw them as perfect targets. They sent a strike force to seize one such outpost. Their orders were clear: capture without destroying. They wanted answers. The fleet descended upon the belt with brutal speed, smashing the small defense drones humans had placed like toys in the dark. The outpost, a cluster of silver domes on a lonely rock, fell without a single shot fired from its occupants. When alien soldiers stormed the halls, they expected fear. They expected humans begging for mercy. But the station crew stood silent. eyes calm, as if capture was already part of their plan. The alien commander spat in disgust and ordered the humans restrained. He searched their labs, their systems, every file they could reach. What they found made his blood run cold. At first, the data looked simple: schematics, energy diagrams, communication logs. But as they pieced them together, a larger picture formed. It was not a weapon built to destroy. It was something far worse. Humans had built a grid stretching across their entire planet, linking satellites, oceans, underground bunkers, even the smallest power lines. It was called the Mirror Project. And its purpose was not to fire its own energy, but to take the enemy's power and send it back. Any fleet, any weapon, any attack launched against Earth would be swallowed and reflected, turned into the enemy's doom. The alien commander's claws shook as he read the files. His soldiers whispered nervously, glancing at the calm faces of the captured humans. One soldier asked why humans would reveal such data so openly, without encryption. The answer came from one of the prisoners, a young human woman who spoke without fear. "Because you were meant to see it," she said. Her voice echoed in the cold hall. "Because we wanted you to know what happens when predators think Earth is prey." The commander snarled and struck her, but her calm expression did not change. The files had already done the damage. Soldiers felt as if the walls themselves were watching. They rushed to extract as much as they could and fled with their prisoners, dragging them onto their ships. The fleet roared away from the asteroid belt, eager to return with proof. But as they crossed into deep space, something stirred. At first it was nothing, just a flicker on their sensors, a shadow in the black. Then their engines sputtered. Lights dimmed, screens filled with static. Soldiers shouted in panic. Commander slammed his fists, ordering full power, but the systems bled energy into the void. Outside, the stars themselves seemed to twist. And then it appeared, a smooth silver shape, sliding silently from darkness. Not from Earth, not from any planet, but here, waiting in the void. The soldiers gasped. How could humans have a ship so far from their world? The commander screamed to fire, but weapons refused. Their systems bent back against them, just as before. One by one, their ships went dark, frozen in the black sea of stars. The commander fell silent as the silver shape moved closer. He knew then that the files they had stolen were not lies. Earth's web was not only on the planet, stretched farther, wider, hidden in places no one had thought to look. The Mirror Project was not a single weapon. It was everywhere. A voice filled the alien bridge, calm and cold. The same voice that had ended the scouts and welcomed Kareth. "You wanted to see the truth," it said. "Now you know." The soldiers trembled. Some covered their ears, though. The sound came from no speaker. The commander tried to curse, but the words died in his throat. The silver ship circled once, its surface shifting like water, and then without a sound.
The alien fleet's lights blinked out.
In moments, all their ships were dead, drifting corpses in space. Only one was left with power, a single vessel chosen. By the human ship, its systems lit up again, engines humming weakly. On its main screen, a message appeared in human script, translated instantly for their eyes. "Take this warning home." Shaking with fear, the commander obeyed. His ship limped away, carrying prisoners, files, and terror. When he returned to the Empire's council, he presented the evidence. The halls that once rang with pride fell silent. They saw the diagrams, the testimonies, the empty eyes of the surviving humans. They saw the recordings of the silver shape, moving like a ghost through space. For the first time in generations, they felt cold fear. But pride is a chain heavier than fear. The rulers of the Empire clenched their fists and roared that Earth could not be allowed to exist. They claimed humans had deceived them, tricked them, shamed them before the stars. They demanded war. They demanded Earth's silence be broken forever. They ignored the tremble in their own voices. Far away, on the quiet blue planet, oceans whispered. Over hidden giants and satellites drifted with secret purpose. Humanity did not cheer its victories. Humanity did not boast, simply waited, knowing the Empire would return, knowing patience was its greatest weapon. The alien empire could no longer hide its shame. Okay, the councils that once laughed at Earth now burned with rage. Commanders shouted that humans had mocked their power. Politicians swore that the galaxy would laugh at them if they let a single small planet stand unbroken. Pride drowned fear, and so the largest fleet the Empire had ever gathered was assembled. Thousands of warships, carriers, destroyers, and battle stations formed a storm of fire that blotted out the stars as it moved toward Earth. The fleet's commanders were certain that numbers would crush whatever tricks humans had. One ship, one hidden weapon, even a grid of defenses, could not stop an ocean of fire. They told their crews that victory was certain, that this battle would erase the insult forever. Yet whispers passed through the lower ranks. The survivors of earlier missions told their stories of silver shadows and silent voices. Soldiers laughed nervously, pretending they did not believe. But in the cold of space, hearts trembled. Earth watched quietly. Satellites tracked every movement of the armada as it approached. In hidden bunkers beneath mountains and deep within oceans, humans sat before silent screens. No speeches, no cheers, no cries of war, just silence. They had known this day would come. They had built for it. Project Mir had not been made to fight small skirmishes. It had been made for this moment. The alien fleet entered orbit with thunder. Their ships formed ranks, their weapons glowed, and their commanders prepared to strike. Admiral Kravith, leader of the invasion, smiled coldly. "Let us see your silence now," he said, and gave the order. A wave of fire fell upon Earth. Plasma. Beams cut through clouds, missiles streaked like falling stars, and energy storms wrapped the planet. For minutes the night sky burned. Oceans boiled, mountains shook, cities trembled, but then slowly the light faded. The alien crews leaned forward, waiting to see Earth shattered, smoking, broken. Instead, what they saw froze them. Every beam, every missile, every firestorm that had struck Earth did not destroy it. Instead, the energy was swallowed, bent, mirrored. From the clouds rose shields of light, curving like silver glass, reflecting every strike. The planet glowed but stood unharmed. And then the true horror began. The sky itself lit up as the stolen energy rose back into space. Beams turned around. Missiles reversed course. Plasma storms bent backward. The alien fleet screamed in shock as their own fire came for them. Entire squadrons were erased in seconds, shattered by the very weapons they had unleashed. Ships exploded like stars going dark, their wreckage scattering in silent bursts. Admiral Kravith roared for his fleet to scatter, but chaos ruled. And in the middle of the storm, they appeared, human warships. Not many, not large, but fast and silent. They slipped from the shadows of space, cloaked in darkness until the moment. They struck. Alien ships, already crippled by their own weapons, fell before human precision. The humans fought like no army the Empire had ever faced. They did not march in lines or follow rigid commands. They struck like predators, sudden and merciless, then vanished into the dark again. On the ground below, billions of humans watched the sky. To them, it looked like stars were dying, falling in flames. Governments said nothing, only telling their people to remain calm. Yet every person felt Earth was no longer prey. They did not know the details. They did not see Project Mirror. But in their hearts they felt a truth rising. The sky belonged to them. Admiral Kravith tried to regroup. His fleet, he ordered his strongest carriers to form a shield, to push back against the mirror. But as they gathered, the ocean below shifted. Waves rose higher than towers, and from the depths came more silver shapes. Not one, not two, but dozens. Human ships rose like giants from the sea, each one gleaming with the same smooth, mirror-like hull. The Admiral's eyes widened. Was not one weapon. It was an army. The battle turned to slaughter. Alien weapons fired, but each strike bent back. Their shields collapsed under their own power. Human ships cut through their formations like knives through paper. Some aliens begged for retreat, others screamed in rage, but the result was the same. Their fleet burned. their empire's pride. Shattered with every explosion. At the height of the chaos, the flagship itself fell under the mirror's grip. Admiral Cravath's bridge shook, his officers crying out as their systems bled energy into the void. On his screen, the silver surface of a human ship appeared, closer than breath. And then came the voice, calm as ever, cold as death. You chose this. The Admiral's scream was lost in the soundless void as his ship folded inward, consumed. By its own power, the flagship was gone. With it, the Empire's greatest fleet was broken. Survivors scattered, fleeing in all directions, desperate to escape the trap they had entered. Some ships surrendered, shutting down and waiting in silence, too broken to fight. Others fled so fast they tore themselves apart. In the end, only fragments of the fleet remained, drifting like ash around the blue planet that had refused to. Fall dot on Earth, Project Mirror sank back into silence. The silver ships returned to their hidden places beneath the oceans and mountains. Humans did not celebrate. They did not roar in victory. They watched the sky grow quiet again, as if nothing had happened. Their patience remained their greatest weapon. But in the Empire, silence turned to terror. Reports of the battle spread like fire. Billions whispered that Earth was not weak, that Earth was a death world disguised in kindness, that humans were not prey, but hunters who had chosen to wait until the moment was right. Pride could no longer hide fear. The Empire knew now what the galaxy would soon know. Earth had stopped them cold. The alien fleet surrounded Earth like a dark crown of metal. Their warships covered the sky, blotting out the stars. Across the globe, people waited in silence, hearts heavy, watching the heavens where death seemed to hang. The alien commander, known as Ver, stood inside his control chamber, eyes fixed on the holographic map of Earth. To him, this planet had always looked weak. Divided nations, old weapons, and no star-spanning empire. But as he stared at the surface readings, something made him hesitate. He saw signals, strange and powerful, pulsing through the atmosphere. He told himself it was only interference, but deep down, fear scratched his thoughts. On Earth, resistance gathered in an underground base, hidden beneath ruined stone mountains. David stood with the last human council, his eyes reflecting determination. He remembered the voices of his fallen friends, their warnings, their sacrifice. Humanity was not broken. Humanity had been waiting. For years, secret networks had spread under alien occupation. Scientists, soldiers, and even farmers had hidden pieces of a plan. The aliens thought they had stripped Earth of all hope, but they had only fed the fire. Tonight, the fire was ready to rise. The aliens prepared their final strike. Beams charged on their warships, energy glowing like cruel suns above the atmosphere. Ver raised his clawed hand and spoke coldly to his officers. End this world. Leave nothing breathing. His command rippled through the fleet. Dozens of captains locked their weapons on Earth. Yet before they fired, the space around their ships shifted. The stars flickered, as if the universe itself was watching them. The alien officers froze. Their sensors screamed with impossible readings. It was not human technology. It was something older, something deeper. David looked at the skies and whispered the words that had been passed, through generations in secret. The Skywatch is back. He raised his hand, and across the world, hidden devices awakened. Towers once thought abandoned hummed with life. Satellites the aliens never detected lit up like burning eyes. Earth itself seemed alive, responding to humanity's call. The alien fleet staggered, systems shut down, weapons failed mid-charge. Their massive ships trembled, as if something held them in an iron grip. Vey roared in anger, but his roar broke into silence when the main screen filled with a vision no alien had ever seen. It was not a human weapon. It was Earth itself. The planet pulsed with energy, as if the oceans, the mountains, the very air carried a hidden force. A voice deep and ancient echoed through every ship. It was not spoken in any language, yet all understood it. This world is not weak. This world remembers. Panic spread through the alien crews. Some tried to flee, but their engines were locked. Others begged their commander for orders, but no order could stand against what they faced. They had always believed Earth was soft prey, a simple world to conquer. But now they saw the truth. Humanity was not alone. The planet itself had always been a shield. The strange readings they ignored for years were no accident. Earth had been hiding its strength until the moment it was needed. David felt the power flowing through the ground. For a brief second, he saw flashes in his mind. Ancient humans who had walked this world long before written history. Guardians who had touched the heart of the planet itself. They had left behind more than ruins. No, they had left a bond between humankind and the living Earth. That bond now wakened in full force. The alien flagship groaned under the pressure of invisible energy. Its hull bent, alarms screamed, and still Vayer refused to believe. He shouted, "They are only humans. They cannot do this." But his officers no longer answered. Fear had hollowed them. The truth had stopped them cold. Above Earth, one by one, alien ships began to collapse. Some broke apart in silence, torn like paper by unseen hands. Others simply vanished, pulled into the void. The survivors who managed to escape would carry the tale back to their empire, but their words would be whispers of horror. They would speak of Earth not as prey, but as a graveyard for invaders. When the last ship fell, silence spread across the skies. Humanity stood beneath the stars, no longer afraid. David lowered his hand and breathed slowly. Round him, the resistance cheered. Across the world, people emerged from hiding, looking up at a sky finally free. Earth had shown its strength, and humanity had proven it was worthy of that strength in the ruins of the alien command deck. Vayer lay among shattered screens, his pride crushed. His last thought before darkness took him was simple and heavy. They had never faced a prey. They'd faced a force that could not be broken. Earth was not weak. Earth was waiting. And the universe would never forget what happened to those who mistook silence for weakness. Humanity had survived, and in surviving, they had sent a message across the stars. Never again would Earth bow.